A galaxy divided by war, the Scruffy Nerf Herders find themselves as the only remaining hope the world of podcasting has. Is Jedi Master Yoda the most overrated Jedi of all time? Why does no one else on Toydaria sound like Watto? Do the Jedi even care about the fate of the clone troopers? Find out all of this and much more on this week's episode of Clone Cast.
Welcome back to Clone Cast. My name is Bryant. Joined with me this week are my fellow hosts, Robbie and Brendan. How are we doing this week?
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. Good to be back. Ready for some more Clone Wars discussions, if you will.
Roger.
Now, I did some research because last week's episode we watched by far the worst rated Star Wars movie of all time. If you had to guess what the top two highest rated Rotten Tomatoes Star Wars movies are, what do you think they are?
Ooh, top two highest rated?
Highest rated.
I'm gonna have to say Rogue One and New Hope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me top three. My bad. I don't know why I said top two.
Okay, Rogue One, New Hope, and Empire.
All right, Brendan.
Is Empire 6?
5.
So I would say Rogue One, New Hope, and 6. Whatever that one's called.
I am about to blow your guys' mind from this.
You say it's 7, 8, or 9, I'm gonna be pissed.
Okay, number 3. Drumroll. A New Hope. The 1977 New Hope.
Okay.
Number 2. The 2015 Force Awakens.
No way.
Number
Get outta
1.
here.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured Empire.
So, Empire Strikes Back has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. The Force Awakens has a 93, and A New Hope has a 93. So, technically, they're tied for second.
Wow. That's crazy.
I mean, of the 3 newest movies, that one is definitely the best one.
Number 4 is The Last Jedi, which has 91%.
Oh, God, what the hell?
And Rogue One is in 5th place with 84%.
How is The Last Jedi above Rogue One? That is insane. Is it because of the damn porgs? Or is the porgs in the last one?
Porgs are, they're in the last one for a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the list continues to go down. It says Rogue One, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, Solo, Attack of the Clones, The Rise of Skywalker, Phantom Menace, and then The Clone Wars. Very surprising list.
So the Clone Wars animated movie we saw is just the worst rated.
Yep,
It was pretty bad.
It was bad.
Oh, man. I will say that I'd already seen these 3 episodes that we're going to discuss today, but already so much better than that movie was. Like, I just enjoyed them.
Yeah, that was going to be my question for you guys, because I was very concerned after last week's episode, but after watching these 3, I mean, where are we at? I mean, how are you guys feeling?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see more Star Wars stuff, just like I was excited for Obi-Wan and when that came out and loved it, and then now that it's gone, I'm upset. I feel like this is very similar. Like, I'm getting a taste of some Star Wars stuff, and I'm just super excited to see what happens next. Like, it really took a lot out of me not to watch the next episode after these 2. And so I was like, could I just do it? But I didn't.
No, honestly, I was really stoked. Like I said, I kept feeling like something was wrong with me of why didn't I like that movie last week, and until we kind of had that discussion that it was definitely one of the worst movies of the franchise. I really didn't know, but I truly enjoyed these 3 episodes, and it makes me really excited to continue watching.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, the thing that I really enjoy about Clone Wars is that, like, these are characters that I don't feel like we really got to see enough of in the prequels. Mace Windu, Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin. And I think that's one of the things that I adored about Obi-Wan was that, like, you got to see more of these characters. But here we are. We've got all of these seasons and all these episodes where it's like each one's I shouldn't say each one, but each one's kind of like a little different story arc for these characters. So I'm super hyped.
I may be completely wrong, but was there a Yoda series announced?
No. The only thing that he got mentioned on was like he was going to be part of the High Republic. Sorry, the High Republic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this first episode where Yoda is going to
Toydaria.
Is that what it was? Toydaria?
Toydaria, yeah.
They seem like the same type of people as like Watto.
They are. They are.
Are
They are
they?
the same species as Watto. I had to look that up.
Okay, yeah, so that was cool. I mean, just them bringing that species back. So, I mean, Watto was really kind of the only one you saw of that species, right? I don't think there was any other ones in the first three movies.
Does it make me racist that I was disappointed that none of them sounded like Watto?
What do you mean?
Why'd you do that to me?
Yeah, it's like when they started talking and they were all like, "Oh, hello, I'm the king." I was like, "No, you're not supposed to sound like that. You people don't talk like that."
He kind of did. He kind of sounded like it. It's almost like as if you were to take like somebody and say, "Why does the president of the United States not sound like people from, down south?"
That's true.
Like, Watto was very much part of like this, I don't know, grungy mechanic, like, "Hey, little Annie!" Like,
He was the scumbag of Toydaria.
yeah, I mean, a scumbag's not going to sound like, you're talking about the king here. He was like, he's not going to sound like, "Yeah, I'm the king." Nobody's going to
Impressions
follow
are
him.
so good.
But I also think like it would probably be difficult to do this story with someone that sounded like that. To your point, like Ventress shows up and she's like, "We're gonna, the Jedi's don't have your back." And he's like, "Maybe they don't."
Or maybe they do.
You have to give Yoda a fighting chance.
I can't tell if you're doing Watto or Macho Man Randy
Macho Man,
Savage.
yeah.
They're kind of the
I
same.
feel like both of your impressions were pretty good. I'm not even going to embarrass myself and try.
gotta
Go
hear
ahead.
it. We
Let's
gotta
see.
hear it.
Your turn.
No, there's no way I'm doing that.
Come
You
on,
have
you
to.
have to. Do it for the podcast.
I don't even know how to make my voice sound like that.
Just sound
Just
like
do
you've been
it.
smoking for 40 years. That's all
Yeah.
it is.
Come on.
I was so about to, and then I just thought
Do
it
it.
sounds so dumb.
You got this. Give him what he wants.
Annie, what do you mean?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my god, that was pretty good. I thought that was Brian for a second.
No, that was good.
That's as good as I'm gonna get.
That was pretty good.
I suck at impressions. Please don't ask me to do that again.
Do you guys remember that time that I was so impressed with my Mark Wahlberg impression and I sent it to you guys?
And it was so absolutely horrid.
I
Yeah.
thought it was pretty good. Hey guys, me, Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me, Mark Wahlberg.
What's that? Anyways, Yoda came to this planet and he came with a purpose,
Yeah, so the whole backstory here is Yoda is traveling to Toydaria, and he's like, we're going to set up a Republic base, but before they can land, the CIS comes in, and they're like trying to kind of undermine the Republic's negotiating. So like Ventress and Dooku are like, hey, we can do this. A really dope line that I kind of got a kick out of. They said that it was like a single Jedi equals 100 battle droids. I was just like, yeah, that's kind of true. The droids kind of suck.
Yeah, and like one question that my daughter even asked me is because it's been a while since she's seen all the movies and stuff, so we do need to rewatch all the movies with her again. But I think she last watched them when she was like 5, but now she's 12, and she was like, "Were the droids always like dumb?" And I was like, "I mean, they're like robots, like droid. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they put much intelligence in them." And she's like, "Because the show makes them sound really dumb." And I was like, "I think it's for comedic effect there, bud."
Yeah, I kind of felt stupid because last week's episode I was like, yeah, this movie kind of shows how like it's not one-sided, and both sides are kind of winning the war on different fronts, but then Yoda literally murders a battalion of droids.
Yeah, but it's Yoda versus a bunch of droids.
Yeah.
Well, it was cool because like he gets shot. I think they got like their ship got shot, right?
Yeah, it got shot. The ship got like ambushed in space, and so he had to take a escape pod down to the planet with three clone troopers.
Right. So they land on the planet, and then he just kind of pops out, and the 3 clone troopers are like, what are we gonna do? And Yoda's like, it's all good. Like, we got this. And so I just liked that. Was it Dooku that kind of said, hey, or was it Ventress that was like, hey, how about we put that to the test? The whole 1 Jedi is worth 1,000 droids. Let me send my best troops. I think it was Ventress that said it. Let me send my best troops after him and see if the Jedi are all what they're all about, or if they're being over exaggerated. So I just thought it was a cool, like, kind of wait and see moment from the story perspective, and just seeming doom and gloom. And obviously, Ventress didn't give a fair fight. She sent like armored tanks and stuff after them, and it's literally just 3 clone troopers and Yoda. But
you mentioned a moment that was probably one of my favorites from this episode, where Yoda's like throws out some bit of like Yoda wisdom, and the clone troopers are like, "You guys have any idea what he's talking about?"
One of my favorite things was when the proposal was being put together by Ventress to the king of Toydaria, and she's like saying all this, and he's like, "No, this doesn't seem fair." And then Yoda's like, I accept the challenge. And he's like, "I'll see you at nightfall." Like, he was just super confident, like, "All right, yeah, cool, I'll see you in a few hours." And even like after they were getting attacked and stuff at first, Yoda was like, the king like pulled him up and was like, "I hear you're having some trouble." And he's like, "Trouble?" He's like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." Like, he was just so confident the whole time, and it was just so great to see him like that.
It kind of answers, I don't know how to phrase this, because like in the prequels we just see Yoda fight Dooku and Palpatine, right? And that's kind of like the most that we get from it. And other than that, like, Yoda's considered like the most powerful Jedi, and like it's like, is Yoda the most overhyped Jedi of all time? But this episode just like stamps that out, and it's like, nah, this is why he's kind of the leader of the Jedi at this point.
What was funny too was it brought me back to I think an episode in Obi-Wan where you were like, "I think he's the greatest Jedi." I was like, "No way!" I was like, "Yoda's so much better." And like, this series kind of, further proved that. Like, I don't know if Obi-Wan could go toe to toe with Palpatine, and he clearly got his butt whooped by Dooku twice. So, he's just not as strong. And Yoda is the man. Yoda's the man.
So Yoda versus Vader. Who would you guys take?
Vader.
Spoken with such confidence there. You want to elaborate on that?
Sure. I think that Yoda would do well, but I think ultimately Vader would win.
I don't think so. Because remember how we talked about how Vader's fighting style is just very much brute force? Look how freaking nimble Yoda has been. Every time you've seen him actually in action.
Oh, yeah, he's flipping
I think
around and doing crazy things.
I think you would get around him. I mean, Obi-Wan kind of did that to him in the last episode of Kenobi. Like, he kind of finessed him by being a little bit more agile.
I guess it depends on when Vader, like, Anakin just became Vader, or Anakin has been Vader for 20 years at this point, because Yoda rapidly ages between the 3rd and 4th episodes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part, right?
And he's a lot slower at that point. Like,
yeah,
I don't think he would stand a chance at that point.
Yeah, because if we were to say, like, Vader and Yoda from Return of the Jedi, obviously Vader's going to kill Yoda because he's on his deathbed. But, like, I don't know. I after seeing this, I genuinely don't know if there's anybody better than Yoda.
I don't see it happening because Yoda's just so smart. And I actually heard something about Vader and why he doesn't use Force Lightning. And it was saying that Force Lightning on the Sith side has basically, you have to have flesh to do it, which is why like Starkiller was able to do it, why Sidious is able to do it, but Vader's not because he has metal arms. And it also is because the electricity flowing through him would mess up his life support system, which is another reason why he doesn't do it. Which is also why in the Return of the Jedi, when he takes Sidious and throws him over the edge, and all the electricity gets to his life support systems and kills it, essentially kills him. And so you got to think, if Yoda went toe to toe, although I would say I believe Sidious won the fight between him and Yoda, because Yoda just ran away essentially at that point.
You brought up Vader's life support system. I never really thought about how much of like a flaw that is in his system.
Right?
Like, if he's chasing you, just go stand in the water and you're like, can't get me.
You just smack his little beep boop box.
Yeah.
And he's like,
one of the things that I absolutely like adored from this series is like the comedy and the humor. And you mentioned like the droids being idiots where like they can't shoot things and they're talking about that. But there's like 2 moments that I absolutely loved. And they were like, the first one was the comm link when the droid's talking to Ventress and she's like, "What's going on out there?" And then you see Yoda jump on its arm and just like decapitate him on the comm link.
She's like, "Where's 224?" And he's like, "He got destroyed." He goes, "I guess I'm the new one." He goes, "But he's taken over." And he's like, just shows him like getting cut up.
Yeah. And then the next one was where you got the droid in the tank and Yoda kind of cuts a hole in the bottom of the tank and climbs up and he goes, "I just got promoted."
Yeah, that was great.
I was laughing so hard at that line.
I also will say that every time I show the Droidicas, I got super excited again, just like I did in the movie. I felt the same way. Something about them, I just have always loved them. I think they're so badass, and my daughter was all confused because the clone troopers, obviously they have like nicknames. They call them like clankers a lot and stuff like that. And so when they pulled up, they were like Rollies, and so she goes, "They're called Rollies, not Droidicas, Daddy." And I'm like, "No, they're you shut your mouth!
How dare you?
You know nothing."
You know, when this episode, the first time I watched it, I missed the fact that they said they were trying to set up a base, and I thought that they were trying to get the Toydarians to join the army. And I was like, why the hell do you want these guys in your army? I was like, they don't look like they could do jack shit.
There's one part near the end of the episode where they were flying off in one of the carriers, like the little flight carriers, and my daughter's like, "Why do they need to get in this spaceship if they can fly? They have wings." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm done talking to you."
Why do we take the car to the store when we have legs?
Ooh.
So one thing that I do want to point out to you fellas is I forgot what I was going to say.
We're definitely not deleting that. That is staying in the podcast.
Damn it.
I am curious with you guys. You know, we talked about like pacing and the movie and everything like that. I thought the movie was kind of important because it introduced you to characters like Ahsoka. After seeing the first episode, do you think you needed to watch the first movie, or do you think you could have just watched the first episode?
No, I definitely think the movie helps, at least on the Ahsoka end. It still did nothing for Ventress. I mean, it still irritates me that she's just thrown in here. And like I said, like, if it did an introduction like Darth Maul, where it's like, oh my gosh, who's this new bad guy? And like even the characters are like, who's this new bad guy? But with Ventress, it's like they all seemingly know who she is already, and that irritates me. But I think they did a good job with the movie, kind of setting up Ahsoka. Because I mean, yeah, if you just were to watch this straight off the bat, you'd be like, who's this person? Like you said, Anakin has a Padawan. What in the world's going on? So
Yeah, I mean, I think it could go either way. I think with the amount of Star Wars knowledge that's already out there, and like I said, even before the movie, I knew that Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan. So I think it just depends on the way that you like to visualize things. Like, I don't really have an issue with Ventress because I'm like, yeah, I mean, who cares? She's really not super important to me at this point. Just because I don't know who she is. So maybe if they had set her up better, it would have been, I would show more care for her character, but I really don't care about her, to be honest. She fails every time she's been on screen so far.
that's what I'm saying, is like, it's not even just a matter of it's like almost like poor character development, you know? Like, it'd be one thing if none of the characters themselves knew who this Ventress person was until she had told them her name. But the fact that they all already know who she is, I'm like, when the hell did they run into her before? So, I don't know. One thing that I thought they did a great job of, though, is I think during the movie I had asked you guys a question last podcast, and this is what I was trying to bring up before that I forgot. I had said, imagine being a clone, but like one of you seems to be better off than the other. You know what I mean? Like Rex obviously being like a badass and things like that, and some of them just seemingly having more capabilities, even though you're all the same exact person. You're all a clone of the same person. It was cool when there was a moment after they had kind of been attacked by the CIS that they went into this little cave system, and Yoda was just having like this moment with them because they all seemed kind of down and out and were like, you know, how are we going to get out of here alive? Like, there's only 3 of us, and Yoda, like, you know, they just didn't feel like they had really a fighting chance. But Yoda just kind of made them take their helmets off and talk to them individually and kind of brought out, you know, the different personalities and different fears that they have. And it's just interesting that, you know, it's almost like they're all their own person, even though they all were a clone of the same person.
Well, it goes that nature versus nurture conversation, right? Your experiences shape who you are more than what you were born with.
Fair, but again, think about, they've all gone through the same stuff. They're all part of the same war. They're all literally the same person.
Yeah, but they're in different battles, and they're in different, like...
No, they all seem to be at battles.
Positions.
I mean, they're all in the same squadron. You know what
They're
I mean?
all raised in the same clone facility.
Yeah.
Unless there's different clone facilities. I always just assumed Kamino was the only one.
I think so too, but I mean they're all raised the same.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like their experiences after they leave that facility. Like they each have their own different roles. Like they're not all heavy gunners, right? Only one of them was carrying a heavy gun. Each of them has their own experience that they take part in, even if they're in the same battle.
Right.
They're fighting different people or different droids, and
so you think that's what separates them?
Yeah, I think that's what changes them slightly. Like, obviously, at the core, they're all still the same person, but I think that those different experiences that happen to them change them individually.
Makes sense.
So the episode ends with Yoda showing up, kind of defeating the CIS, and Ventress tries to kill King Katunka. Yeah, I don't know. I wrote it down. I was like, oh, I'll be able to say it. Nope,
King Tonka Truck.
Yeah, exactly. So she pulls her lightsabers out, and Yoda just straight is like, hey, don't mess with me. Pulls the lightsabers away from her, and he's like, yeah, I am everything that I said I am, and more. And essentially, the Toydarians kind of sign on to the Republic and tell the CIS to get the hell out of the system.
I thought it was great, too, in that moment when he's like telling Dooku, that Ventress had failed him yet again, and that she's got a lot to learn. She's like, I'm not afraid of you. And then he just like straight up takes her lightsabers out of her hand and puts them in his hand. He's just like, yeah, you got a lot to learn. And then he just like gives them right back to her. I was just like, dang.
Yeah, Dooku dropped a line where he was like, you're lucky I wasn't there, my master.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just love that chemistry between the two of them. Like, there's just this resentment.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know. I was always super excited when I was younger because obviously as a kid watching episode 5 and episode 6 and seeing Yoda, like I just kind of gravitated towards that character because it was just like a fun, silly little character. And then when he's shown in, I think it was the Attack of the Clones when he fights Dooku, and he is just flipping all over the place, and he's got a little mini lightsaber, and he's just this little bat. Like, I was just so hyped in that moment. And then just this episode kind of brought back those feelings that I had when I was a kid, and seeing that for the first time once again, just how much of a badass he was, flipping all around, taking out tanks, taking out droids, super battle droids, taking out everything, like just all by himself. It was just super cool. And understanding that he had once trained Dooku, like that's why I had asked if there was a series with Yoda, because I was wondering if they were going to go back to show like when he was training Dooku, and Dooku was like a Jedi.
In this show there is like an episode that talks about like a younger Dooku and kind of everything like that. But like there's also like a story arc that they get into that like, is Dooku really the bad guy? Are the Separatists really the ones like to blame? And it's interesting that like when you look at what happens after like Revenge of the Sith, the Separatists pretty much just turn into the Republic, right. And the Republic turns into the bad guys. It's just kind of interesting. Episode 2 and episode 3 kind of merged together, and they're kind of like this whole story arc that we didn't kind of get a conclusion with, that it's going to end in 4. But episode 2, we get introduced to Blue Clune, which we all kind of had a little love session about Blue Clune last week, and it was kind of cool that we got to see him again.
Yeah, I had heard more about Blue Clune just in random videos and stuff I had watched, and learning more about his backstory and stuff. And yeah, he was awesome, man. And I'm excited that it's another character that I don't know who he is, but I'm excited to learn more about him. And obviously him and Ahsoka seem to have some sort of background because they seem to already know who each other was. But I mean, what a way to show the power of the Separatists with that ship. That ship was crazy. That shot that like almost like an EMP burst to knock out ships. What was so funny to me was like, I don't know, so many times they were like flying and the ship was turning to like shoot at them, and I'm like, just turn. Like, why are you flying straight away? Turn. Evasive maneuver, something. Gee.
Yeah, the ship is the Malevolence, and it gave me like very Death Star vibes. Like, it has that ion cannon that kind of just kills all the ships via EMP, but like the way that I think it was even Count Dooku Orbis Grievous who was like, you may fire when ready. And I was like, that's the line that they said with the Death Star. I was like, it's so awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Because if you think about it, at the end of the Clone Wars, Dooku brings Palpatine, or the Emperor, the plans for the Death Star, because that's what the Separatists were working. It's like you got to think that they've got this kind of technology as well. Brendan, I'm curious because when we finished up Kenobi Cast, one of the things you requested that like you're like, man, I really want a series that kind of goes into Grievous. So were you into seeing him again, or do you want to see something different, or what's going on?
No, so far I'm like extremely excited, right? Like everything that I've been wanting to see more of, I didn't know was sitting here for years. Like it's kind of annoying that I've never watched this show because I'm like, oh look, more Anakin and Obi-Wan like interactions, and oh look, General Grievous is back, and more information on the Clone Wars, which is like such a huge part of the Star Wars history, but I feel like all we got was like one movie.
Yeah.
And apparently there's this series that goes like super detailed into the Clone Wars.
So this is a little off topic, but I kind of going into this where like we already know the characters or we've heard of the characters. I've been reading this book called Star Wars Shadow of the Sith. It just came out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so essentially this is the book that bridges Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. And dear Jesus, you want to talk about a book or a story that should have been the first movie of the last trilogy? This is it. Because, like, they explain Rey and her family and why they're on the run. They explain how Palpatine comes back. They explain, like, where Lando's been this entire time. They show Luke training Jedis and training Ben and searching the galaxy for Sith artifacts and going to Exegol. At one point, this isn't a spoiler because it's already been reported on, but at one point, Luke is on Exegol and he's being like surrounded by like wraiths of the Sith, kind of like Lord of the Rings where they have like the ring wraiths, and he's fighting them off but he can't win, and then the ghost of fucking Anakin Skywalker shows up and joins the lightsaber battle with Luke. Like absolutely
ghost joins
a Force ghost pulls out a lightsaber and joins in on this fight. Yeah, which changes a lot of things about Star Wars because it's never been done before. But the thing is like it's also going into stories that like in the final Rise of the Skywalker, there's the dude that's like got this random ship out there and they're going to get the blade from him. Well, he's the main character of this book. Like he's the main bad guy. So it's like they're introducing to him, and it's kind of like what you're talking about with Ahsoka. Is you hear all these stories or you hear the name, but you don't know the backstory. It's like that's what I love about Clone Wars. Is like even though I was in the same boat as you guys a couple years ago, where I didn't, you know who Ahsoka is, you see the character, you know who they are, you don't get to see the story. It's just so freaking exciting to kind of be able to relive these tales.
Yeah, that's cool. My dad had made a mention about that book.
I shouldn't say that I'm reading it. I'm doing book on tape. But the book on tape is pretty dope because they actually have like an orchestra soundtrack in the background, and when there's lightsaber fights going on, they actually have lightsabers clashing in the background, and like they did a really good job on the audio side.
Ah, so it's like something for like a kindergartner to keep them entertained.
Exactly, it's like a picture book. So episode 2, Plo Koon is essentially approaching this separatist ship that has like this massive EMP cannon, and his ship gets just blown to pieces. So like him and all these other clone troopers have to like evacuate into pods, and they're sending out distress beacons. And Anakin and Ahsoka are like, we need to go out there and we need to investigate. And the Jedi Council is pretty much like, absolutely not, do not do this. And even the Palpatine is like, yeah, do not do this. But then Anakin does it anyway. And there's a scene that happens in this episode that I genuinely laughed at, where like Palpatine is comm linking to Anakin in the ship, and he's like, dude, we told you not to go. And Anakin's like, yeah, I know, but like, this is kind of what we gotta do. And it's just funny because it's like, you think about it from Palpatine's perspective, he's like, I have huge plans for you, buddy, but you're screwing up everything right now.
You're messing this up. You clearly don't listen. Yeah, and I think what was interesting is just showing, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in any of the Star Wars movies, when they're getting attacked by, starships and stuff, they always seem to have deflector shields, and they always make comments like, oh, deflector shields are at 50%, or double shields to the rear, or whatever they say, to like really take the brunt of these blasts. When that EMP thing knocks out these ships, like they just get destroyed like within seconds, and it's like, wow, like I don't think they ever visibly show what those shields look like or them stopping the blast, but it's just crazy that without those, how quickly they get destroyed.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts on how like these ships' defenses and like offense evolves throughout Star Wars. Like you go from just like standard blasters to like ion cannons like we're seeing here, and then in the final 3 movies, like each one of the destroyers is like its very own Death Star. And it's just like, dear God, you think you just combine all the weapons together and like knock a shield down, blow them up, and then blow up a planet, just have all the weapons on one ship and you'd be golden.
Until that one ship gets blown up.
But then you just build another one.
Yeah, clearly. That's what they just like to do.
Same thing, just build it again.
Yeah.
But this time it'll be better.
We're going to rebuild the Death Star, but we're going to put the exact same weakness back into the drawing so they can blow it up again.
Well, they weren't sure how it happened before, remember?
That's true.
Or at least the Empire didn't. They just knew some guy, some a-hole, ruined everything.
You'd think they'd have like security cameras though, right?
You'd think, but...
And they're like, hey, you see that missile going down that little hole? Let's not put that hole there next time, guys. Let's patch that up with some Flex Seal. Fill it up with some Flex Seal.
That was a purposeful design, right? That's what was explained in Rogue One? That there was a purposeful design. Okay.
Any takeaways from the episode 2?
It was good. Kind of left us on a little bit of a cliffhanger, you know? With excitement, I guess you could say. Not necessarily a bad one, but it's like once they rescued Plo Koon?
Yeah.
I thought it was Plo Koon.
Yeah, there's no L in the last one. I
kept saying Plo Koon. Like, I'd randomly shout it. Like, I'd be like, Plo Koon! As I was watching it, my wife's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's a guy. But yeah, when they rescued him and kind of brought him back, and then Anakin's like, we're going to take the fight to them. Because he just wants to take out Grievous. Which is interesting because I don't know. I mean, I guess, the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, they kind of are attacking Grievous. But that's really all the... What am I trying to say here? Screen time that you kind of see about Anakin and Grievous. Like, obviously we know about Obi-Wan and Revenge of the Sith, but you don't really see them, and I guess it's kind of cool that we're going to see that a bit more in this series.
I'm trying to think if there's any other moments between Anakin and Grievous, because Grievous is only introduced in the Revenge of the Sith, right? He's not in Clone Wars. Or no, he's not in Attack of the Clones.
No, he's not.
Yeah. It was always weird to me as a kid, because I think to what Brendan was saying about Obi-Wan is like, he's kind of a dope villain, and you're really only given one movie, and then he like dies halfway through it. Spoiler alert. But like this movie kind of expands upon that, or this show kind of expands upon it.
Do they ever kind of explain like how he came to be? Because he has like, doesn't he have like human or some sort of like live organs inside him?
They don't touch on that, but they definitely touch on like him collecting lightsabers in this show.
Oh,
okay.
Good. That's what I want to see. I want to see him collecting his little trophies.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder why he coughed. Like, how's a robot coughing?
My assumption, there's probably somebody out there who knows, and there's probably something written about it, but I always thought he was like a human or like a alien that essentially they turned into a robot, or they saved like a robot, just like Vader.
Got it.
But he's not a Sith. Like, he said he just has lightsabers. I don't think he's qualified as like a Sith.
He's got lightsabers and a bunch of arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just has lightsabers that he stole from Jedi.
Have you ever played Battlefront with him?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. He has this like crazy ass like spider move where he like just basically runs on all fours. And he's like super fast. It's like terrifying whenever it's like running at you. It's cool though.
I've been tempted to pick up Battlefront 2 for PC, because Battlefront 2 when it launched, it was terrible. Like, it was just microtransactions, but on PC,
it's so fun.
The game has been revamped thanks to the community, because like EA has abandoned it, but the community has so many mods where like you can play as Ahsoka, you can play as Ventress, you can like, they've added so many characters that EA never added to the game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I made B play it for a bit. He said it was pretty fun.
Yeah. It was okay. I mean, it was, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I loved the old Battlefront, so it was not that, and that made me sad.
My one gripe with the game, there's no frickin' Gungan skins. Just put a frickin' Gungan skin in there. You have everything else. Just let me play as a Gungan. And like, it doesn't have to be Jar Jar. Just let me be as a Gungan and teabag other players as a Gungan.
You want to be that big fat Gungan?
These are nuts that taste so good.
Oh, man.
There is a point I want to make about this episode, because we talked about it on Kenobi, and this episode just proved the fact that I have no idea how Stormtrooper or Clone Trooper helmets work. Because these mother effers are in zero gravity in space and like shooting things. But meanwhile, in Kenobi, when water hits them, they drown. I don't understand how Clone Troopers or Stormtrooper helmets
Let's
work.
just say Clone Trooper helmets are more advanced than Stormtrooper helmets.
Budget cuts.
Yeah, they had to. That makes 100% sense, because is that 100% sense? Because they put all this money and funding into these clones and all these fancy new weapons and ships and suits and everything, and then by the time it's Stormtroopers, it's like, who wants to volunteer? Fight for the Empire against rebel scum.
Episode 3, we jump into Skywalker and the Shadow Squadron, which was probably the most badass name I've heard in the show.
That is a badass name.
And they decide to take the attack to Grievous and the Malevolence. And Grievous is planning on attacking the medical station, where all these clones are, I guess, recovering from the war, which I thought was very, very dark for a kid's show.
What a bitch, you know? He's going to just attack people that already wounded, which I was still trying to figure out, like, why? Like, why was that their target? Because it's an easy target?
No, they said it in the show. They said that they were targeting it so that, because that's where all their wounded clones go.
Uh-huh.
So if they destroy that, then they won't have anywhere
right.
to send their wounded clones after.
That's right. And then they'll die when they're wounded. That's right. He did say that. You're right.
But here's the demented part of this, right? This just feeds into how evil Palpatine is. Because Palpatine's running both sides of the war, right? He's telling Grievous and Dooku to attack this clone, like, hospital, basically. But he's also on the side of the clones as well. It's just like, this dude's a maniac.
You want to know how, like, I wonder how they felt about everything. Like, anytime the Galactic, what are they, the Galactic Republic? Anytime they won, like, how did Dooku and Grievous feel? Like, damn it, man, stop sending them to come stop your own plan.
Never thought about it from that perspective. That's
because they felt betrayed.
pretty shitty.
Yeah, like the Galactic felt betrayed when you know, Palpatine was like, "Oh, I'm the greatest Sith," yada yada yada. And it's like that was the master plan all along. But it's like, how do Dooku and Grievous feel in the CIS being like, "God, you tell us to do this, and then you send things to stop and stop." I'm always waiting for, because obviously we know who he is, but I'm always waiting for like moments where he's like, and maybe it was just part of the scheme all along, was just to stay hidden as much as possible. But it's like you're always waiting for him to be like, no, go here instead, or maybe take a little bit longer to relay that info. But it's like, I don't know.
Well, and you also got to wonder, right? Like, how much of his plans actually got foiled by the Jedi? Like, he was very, like, do not pursue the Malevolence, because he didn't want that weapon to get out there. And it's like, did Anakin and Ahsoka going in that, like, ruin his plans? Like, was the plans originally for the CIS to overthrow the Empire, or the Republic, or what were the plans on that end? Or did the Jedi just kind of ruin it for?
Yeah.
I mean, it all works out in the end. One cool thing about this episode were the giant manta rays that were in the nebula. I was like, oh man, I love how they just kind of do like these world building events where they're like, oh, there's manta rays in space.
They're massive. And Plo Koon, like, you could tell when he got all nervous whenever they said it was the Baldera run or something like that. And he's like, the Baldaran run? Anakin, that is a breeding ground for the sea manta rays of space. And he's like, yeah, so?
I think Ahsoka made a good point a little bit further in when she says, you can fly through this, but not everyone can. And Anakin tends to not think about things like that. Like, he knows what he's doing, but not everybody can keep up.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So somebody says this is a breeding ground for these big rays, and he's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. But other people can't dodge the wings and sense what's going on like he can.
So my only gripe about this episode is kind of like, I felt like it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like, the first episode, or episode 2, we get introduced to like this epic weapon that the CIS have. And then like episode 2, the Republic and Skywalker go out to destroy it, and they go on a bombing run, and they end up kind of disabling the ship, or kind of like leaving it like dead in water. And I was just kind of like, well, there goes the threat for season 1. It's just like the thing we were supposed to be terrified about. It's kind of out of the picture in episode 3.
I mean, that's what they did in the first movie. Oh, there goes Death Star that we just learned about. They just got blown up.
So what you're saying is this episode was just Star Wars being Star Wars.
Exactly. Did you catch that droid saying, "I have a bad feeling about this"?
I did. I think that should happen in every episode or every Star Wars property, but it doesn't. It sucks.
Yeah. I still don't like that Ahsoka's calling R2 R2E. It's bothering me.
R2E?
Yeah, because I watch it with subtitles, so the first time it spelled it out, it was ARTOOIE, I believe, R2E. And I was like,
oh god,
what the hell? And then in this one, it did R2, and then it said like a hyphen IE. I was like, pick one.
Do you
hate it.
Do you think droids like R2 have like a max memory bank where like their hard drives max out and they have to start erasing things?
Just things that aren't important.
Well, because like R2 has seen some shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
he's been through it all.
He's been through the entire Skywalker story, and it's just like at the end, it's like, hey man, maybe you should retire. Like, do you still remember everything?
He does. Because you gotta remember, what was it, one of the 7th, 8th, or 9th movie? Man, what was it? Was it 3PO holding on to R2's memory, or was it the other way around? I want to say it was R2 holding on to C-3PO's memory, so it's like, clearly it's got enough space left. Like,
R2's going through his memory bank, and he's like, oh, I got this pod racing footage. I'll just delete that. There is something, I don't know if it's from the comics or where I heard about this, but there is a scene apparently out there where, like, you know how he has, like, the Leia footage where she's like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and, like, Luke and R2 are supposed to be out on this mission at some point, and footage of Padme and Anakin together pop up, and he's like accidentally plays it, and Luke sees it, and he's like, let me see it again, and like R2's like, I'm not going to show that to you.
He's like, who's that hot bitch?
Yeah,
that's your mom, you sicko.
Although we're talking to a guy who kissed his sister, so he's probably into his mom.
That's true.
No offense to sister really kissers out there.
Natalie Portman.
He didn't know that it was his sister.
That doesn't justify it. I'm sorry, that doesn't.
He also didn't throw up once he found out it was.
That was in the deleted scenes. If you're on Disney Plus, there's literally just 20
Is there
minutes
really?
of Luke. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I thought you meant there was a scene where he found out and he was like grossed out, like
he's like dry heaving on Dagobah.
Because in Return of the Jedi, he's all like, "Yeah, it's whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And Han's like, "What's going on here?" And she's like, "He's my brother."
So this episode, kind of like we were talking about, the last one kind of leaves on a cliffhanger where the Republic are chasing Grievous and his ship off into the distance. The reason I say it's a cliffhanger is I believe last time I looked, episode 4 has the exact same title as the last 2 episodes, so I'm assuming it's all tied together.
I think it's like something of the Malevolence, and then the last one was like defeating Malevolence or something like that. Which is why I said I had a hard time not watching the next episode, because I wanted to. And I felt like that was a good sign that I was interested enough. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you guys again. I fell asleep during the 2nd and 3rd episode.
Okay.
I need to stop watching stuff in my lunch break. For some reason, on my lunch break, I get tired.
What part did you fall asleep in?
Pretty much the whole 3rd episode.
Okay.
So I was going to come on here and do this podcast and just wing it, but I was like, no, don't do that. So I definitely watched the 3rd one over again. I like it. I don't know why I'm falling asleep. I guess I'm just a little sleepy guy, you know?
I guess if I had to rank the first 3 episodes, I think number 1 is definitely better than better than 2 and 3. And then, I basically just put it 1, 2, 3, because as 3 just didn't do it for me as much as like the first and the second one.
I'd probably go 1, 3, 2.
Okay.
I like the 3rd
I'd
one.
probably go 3, 1, 2.
Oh, really? What'd you like about the 3rd one so much?
So I've been waiting till the very end to bring this up, but the 3rd episode made me really sad. Because the Jedis really seem to care about the clones. And all I kept thinking is what's going to eventually happen.
Execute Order 66.
That's true.
It really made me sad because, like, even in the first episode, like, Yoda spends the time getting to talk to each clone, like Robbie brought up. Like, Anakin's, like, really broken up that he lost half of his Shadow Squadron. Like, they really seem to care about them. And I just keep thinking about, like, the do those good clones that they make these friendships with just die? Or are they just fake friends? Like, what's happening?
Oh man, there's so much I want to tell you about, but we have to wait till we get the episode.
Dude, I know exactly what you're gonna say because I saw a clip of what I'm assuming is probably one of the last episodes, and I was just like, ah, God, look away.
Yeah, this show ends on Order 66. Like,
I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew from our previous conversations that, but that's what I'm saying. That's why it made me really sad. Like, I felt like, how do we get from there to that, from here to there? And like, I'm so excited to keep watching.
And that's why it's so heart-wrenching, is because there's like, it builds upon this story that like, they're not just expendable, like they're people. And there's a line somewhere in the show where the clones or I think it's Rex, he goes, the war's about to end. And he's like, that's kind of a controversial topic amongst the clones because we were bred for war. And without war, what are we? And like, we're like, without war, what is a soldier? And it's kind of like, what's going to be our purpose? Exactly.
You're a homeless guy in the city.
Begging for coins in Kenobi.
Credits. I don't know. See, you guys are saying like, oh, they cared so much about the clones, but like for me, I don't feel like Anakin cared that much about the clones. I felt like he just cared more about the mission. I mean, yes, he lost 2 clone troopers in the assault on Grievous's ship on Malevolence. And 3 of the ships were taken out by the ion blast, and he had to basically change his maneuvers, and that was when Ahsoka made that comment, like, you can make it through, but not everybody else can, clearly. And even at the end of it, he does make a comment like, I lost, I care about the ones I lost, and yada, yada, yada. But then, like, literally the very next scene, it's showing him, like, climbing out of the ship, and Plo Koon comes up to him, he's like, great job! You did so good leading today. And I'm like, the hell he did? He got, like, people killed. Like, here Plo Koon is saying, like, you can't even lose one ship or this mission's gonna fail. And then at the end of it, he's like, great job, Anakin! You lost some lives, but you're a great leader. And I was like, what is happening?
I guess it was more of like a all-encompassing. Like, I wouldn't say that one Anakin scene is what made me feel that. It was the Yoda scene followed by the Anakin scene, followed by like all of them. Like the clones are like becoming their friends. Like even Plo Koon, like he's in the ship with the 3 of them, constantly talking to them and trying to save their lives. And they're like, we don't matter. And he's like, no, everyone matters.
I think all the rest of the Jedi do, but I don't think Anakin cares about them.
Yeah, maybe not. He seemed like he did. But
next 3 episodes, we have episode 4, which is called Destroy Malevolence, and the description is Padme and C-3PO are caught in the middle of a space battle. We'll see where that goes. Yeah, that's episode 4. That's the description. Huh. Episode 5, we got Rookies, and that one is rookie clones must fend for themselves against an invasion. So I'm assuming that's just going to be a clone episode by itself. And then episode 6 is Downfall of a Droid, and it's basically the description says R2-D2 goes missing in battle.
Huh. Interesting.
So,
kind of makes sense that they're going to bring Padme into it since they made it a point to say like 4 times that they were right near Naboo.
Yeah, I mean, Padme becomes a big character in this show.
What's funny is like they announced 2 characters that we haven't seen at all in the past 2 episodes, and it's like they're the ones that are caught in a starship. Like, what?
You guys got any final closing thoughts about the episode? I did like your mention, Brendan. I did like your little comment at the end about the troopers, because even though Robbie may not agree, I do agree. I think that all the Jedi kind of have this heartfelt feeling for the clones at this point.
They do, but Anakin doesn't.
No, I think Anakin still does.
Anakin doesn't give a fuck.
I don't, because if you think about this, I don't think Anakin, where we're at in the movies, I don't think Anakin's fully gone dark.
No, he definitely hasn't. He's definitely trying to do everything the Jedi way, like with teaching Ahsoka. He's like, you gotta have patience, young one. You have to do this. We have to go to the council. This is very important. You have to be professional. Keep your mouth shut.
There's a line where Anakin disobeys the orders, right? And they go searching for Plo Koon. And like Obi-Wan comes across, he's like, Anakin, where are you?
I know. So that's been my only gripe about this so far is Obi-Wan. Like, he's just been constantly just the person there that's like, oh, Anakin, what have you done now? What have you gotten into this time? Oh, great job, Anakin. We'll take it from here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not Obi. What the hell is this?
Yeah, I mean, that's not the best Jedi in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, but we all agree already.
No, I'm saying at a certain point, when he's throwing rocks, he's more powerful than Yoda at that point. Because Yoda's over on Dagobah just rotting away at that point in the movie.
I don't know, because even in, like, Clone Wars, he's, walking slowly, and then all of a sudden he's like, he stands up and cracks his back a little bit, and then he starts flipping around like crazy, so he just had no
Yoda's
need
nuts.
to. He just had no need to. On Dagobah,
Well, I think that kind of wraps it for us this week. I appreciate everybody again checking out this episode and listening into the show. Until next time, my name is Bryant. Thank you guys so much for listening.
And his name is Bryant.
My name is Bryant.
I'm Robbie.
And I'm Brendan.
May the force be with you.
Always. Bye.